his new budget for 2013 keeps us on this path. And it goes on. It's projected out. That's what his Office of Management Budget and our Congressional Budget Office do these predictions. And it would stay on this level. We would continue to borrow. His next budget would borrow about $1.4 trillion. And over a 10-year period of time it would increase the deficit by another, I think, $7 trillion. So you can see that we have a problem, and that problem is coming upon us, and we have to do something about it. So last week, we voted on budgets, several of them. We allowed to come to the floor. Every individual or group that presented a budget was heard on the floor and was debated on the floor of the House of Representatives. And so there was the progressive Democrat plan, the Democrat plan, the Congressional Black Caucus plan, the President's plan, and the Paul Ryan, which you've heard a lot about. The President's plan, which came to the floor, this just tells you that every person in Congress recognizes there's a problem and that we cannot stay on this path. His budget was voted down 414 to 0. He got 0 votes. Nancy Pelosi and all the Democrats voted no. Paul Ryan, all the Republicans, John Boehner, all of them voted no also. So you can see it's bipartisan. People believe that this is a problem and that the president's budget will not get us to a solution on that. Why? Because if we continue on that slope, the Congressional Budget Office and the Office of Management Budget assures us that that budget never, ever will balance. Not in 50 years, not in 75 years, not in 100 years. It will continue, that debt clock, to continue to roll over and over and over again. So I don't necessarily agree with everything in the Ryan budget. This is the budget. It's not very thick. It doesn't spend any money. It just puts parameters on what we spend. That's what the budget does. The appropriators, which is our different smaller subcommittees, meet and determine what the actual expenditures will be based on a budget. Similar to what you might have as an individual. You may have a budget, you may have your salary and kind of what you might spend in certain areas. But in the end, it's when you write the check, you've made an expenditure. That's the power of actually spending the money. So this is a small document, and it's filled with some numbers, and it makes some recommendations. It only lasts for a year, the actual budget. They're usually, I say usually because the Senate hasn't passed a budget in almost 3 years. I just noticed yesterday that the parliamentarian ruled against Harry Reid, who had said that he didn't have to bring any budgets up. So his own parliamentarian that he appointed told him, yes, you do. So there's a possibility that they'll actually have to vote on a budget this year. I hope they do. Any budget. I don't really care. I just want them to pass something so we have something to negotiate with, so we can get together and work out the differences. So this budget, we'll see in just a few slides later, this budget will set us on a path that would bring us to balance. Does it balance as soon as some people want? No. Does it balance sooner than some people want? Yes. Does it do things that some people like? Yes. Does it do some things that people don't like? Yes, it does. However, at least it moves us to shutting down that debt clock so that one day it would stop. It doesn't mean the debt's paid, but at least the clock stops. And I would think that most reasonable people, including the members of Congress, don't want us to continue, all members of Congress don't want us to continue on this slope. They want us to somehow, some way, bring our spending under control, even if it's a few years later than we had anticipated. It's live. I'd like to just show you one thing. I have a card, has my picture on it, and it has my signature on it. And I use this to vote. Now, I realize that this is not my card forever. I was loaned this card for 2 years, and it works for a 2-year period of time. If I were to be reelected, then I would get a new card, and it would work for another 2 years. If not, then this card would not work any longer, and I wouldn't be a member of Congress. So I realize it's borrowed, and it's borrowed for those 2 years. I want to use it to the best of my ability. I take this card, and on the back of some of the rows in Congress, there's a little card reader, and you stick this card in, and now it's engaged, and then you can push one of the buttons that are there. I was used to, in the Florida legislature, having 2 buttons. Red was no, green was yes. In the Congress, there are 3 buttons. There is no, yes, and chicken. There's a yellow button, and that means you can't decide whether you want to vote yes or no. I don't use that button. It's for voting on issues. I believe that I was sent there to make a decision, and I want to make one to the best of my ability, the best I can. And so I try to use it to benefit not only the citizens of this district, but in some cases our entire country. Some of these issues are large in nature and affect not only the country, but even the world. So I commit to you, just as I've committed to all these town hall, that I will take that card into the best of my ability. This one better? Great. Okay. It's better. Great. Thank you. And I'll use it to the best of my ability to render a vote that would hopefully would honor the position that I've been given. So let me go through a couple more of these slides just to set the stage, and then this is why acting now is important. This is what we're facing in the future in trillions of dollars. The things that we have committed to do, but don't have the money for. So you can see in 2009 it was 62.9 trillion. It grows every year. 76.4 in 2010, almost $100 trillion in 2011. So those are those future expenditures that we'll have, and if we don't turn that curve, they'll continue to grow. So action is needed now. Next slide. Here's where these countries are as a percentage of their economy on their debt. So you can see Greece, like I was telling you, whoops, I said 160, it was 152. They're at 152. And you can see where Italy is, Ireland, Portugal, and Spain. You read in the paper a lot about them being in very much financial disarray. Greece close to bankruptcy if they don't do something to change their policies. And then what's the next? Yes. So this budget that I was holding up puts us on this pathway to prosperity. When we get to this point right here, the debt clock stops. Is this trajectory the right one? Well, it's the right one in that it's going in the right direction. It's going in the right direction. Could it be a little bit more this way? Yes, it could. Or could it be a tighter slope? Yes, it could. But just know it's going in the right direction. This leads us to a balanced budget. And just like every one of the families that I know, and every business I know, you either balance your budget or you go bankrupt. And if we continue on this other path, that's where we're headed, bankruptcy. If we get on this other slope. And all this is recommendations. You can see this only lasts, like I said, for 1 year. And then next year we'll take up another budget. But there are recommendations that reach out into these outer years. They're only recommendations. All of this affects, though, is the appropriations for this particular year, which is right here. And you can see it's just a little teeny difference here. It gets bigger as the slopes go different, but this budget only affects this part right here. So